lives from Worcester to Springfield. And Manny and Patricia Oliver walked with us. Manuel walked in his son's shoes. Patricia had the worst blisters I've ever seen in my life after 50 miles, and it was nothing compared to what she's been through. And we walked to Smith & Wesson, where the AR-15 used at Parkland, at Aurora, Colorado, at San Bernardino, one of them used at Las Vegas, was made here in Massachusetts. So these kids are our future. These kids, if we sustain this March for Our Lives movement, will have the same effect as helping stop the war in Vietnam, helping bring about civil rights, helping a whole lot of other things that needed to be changed that we adults didn't do effectively. So that is my little preface before I give the speaker a hug. Okay.
Real quick group picture before we get started.
Okay, we're gonna do a real quick group picture.
Yeah. Look at everybody. Look at us.
We're gonna look at these people because they're taking pictures.
Don't be shy. Don't be shy.
John, the AG's here, John.
Can the AG come up?
Yeah, right here.
Okay.
Oh yes.
Oh, good. We were stalling to the best of our ability.
Ready? Thank you.
Okay, let's get started because I know, everyone's got a busy schedule. And first of all, my name is John Rosenthal, co-founder of Stop Handgun Violence and the organization behind the billboards that you've been seeing here in Boston since 1994, which incidentally is 850,000 dead Americans ago from largely preventable gun violence, and that's at an average of 35,000 people a year. And 2 years ago, it was 37,000, and this year will be far more until every state in the nation simply replicates our successful gun laws here in Massachusetts that have helped make urban industrial Massachusetts the state with the lowest gun death rate in the nation. We have proven the NRA's worst nightmare that gun laws save lives without banning anything except for military-style assault weapons and large-capacity ammunition magazines like were used, made in Massachusetts at Smith & Wesson, and used at Parkland, San Bernardino, Aurora, Colorado, and the list goes on and on. Ironically, we have the lowest gun death rate in the nation, and because of Smith & Wesson, who makes AR-15 assault rifles and pistols, we make and distribute more weapons than any state in the nation.
Wow.
What a contradiction. So I want to thank our partners here, because you are looking at the team from Zoe Grover, who's the executive director of Stop Handgun Violence, Marjorie Decker, Speaker DeLeo, Mary Lou Sutters, our Secretary of Health and Human Services, our Senior Senator Ed Markey, the guy that's probably got the toughest job in the city of Boston but loves every day of it, Willie Gross, our Police Commissioner. Joe Kennedy, who has been like a brother to me since his Uncle Michael and I started Stop Handgun Violence. And I also really want to thank you all in law enforcement. Thank you for your service. I'm sorry we don't do more to protect you. And you're heroes. And frankly, to the folks in the media who've been under attack and accused of being the problem when you're simply telling the truth and truth to power and spreading the word like today. And how ironic, you know, that over the last 25 years since we've all been working together, you too have been the victim of gun violence. So, this billboard came about as a result of walking from Worcester to Smith & Wesson, where the AR-15 was made that was used to kill 17 students and shoot 17 more at Parkland High School, and that's where I met Patricia and Manuel Oliver. Two of the most incredibly strong people I have ever met in my life. I mean, it is less than 10 months since they buried their son from a preventable gun violence. They fled Venezuela because of violence. They picked the best school system in all of Florida, if not the country, in Parkland, and lost their son to a mass shooting with a weapon made from our very own state of Massachusetts. And we walked for 50 miles, and they didn't know that Massachusetts had the safest state in the nation, the most effective gun laws. And we came up with this idea of this billboard, and it was designed by Manuel and Patricia, and it is this has been one, you know, long week, you know, from the tree of life to, you know, the sanctity and the beauty of life, you know, and the contradictions in life. And, you know, just in the last week, you know, another 700 people have been shot, and roughly 3,500 at 250 a day, 3,500 injured. So we have a long way to go, but if every state replicates Massachusetts, we'll reduce the 37,000 gun deaths to a fraction without banning anything except for military-style weapons. And that's what we are going to be doing together. And it is my honor to introduce you to our friends from Parkland, Manuel and Patricia Oliver.
Thank you, Boston. Everyone here. I want to make this like a happy speech because it's a happy day for us today. My kid loved this city. Oh my God. We came here to that ballpark and had fun. And I remember Joaquin and me debating about where will you have the best hot dog in any ballpark. And that was right here, Fenway Park, watching the Red Sox play. You agree with me, right? Yes, totally, 100%. And that's one of the reasons why a couple of weeks ago, I told Patricia, you know what? Joaquin is gonna help the Red Sox win the championship because he's ready to go to Boston with a strong message. And I was really looking at that World Series, thinking about my son. For the first time, I was watching a World Series without Joaquin next to me. And it wasn't easy. But the fact that it ended up putting together those two very powerful things, City of Boston, the Red Sox team, and my son, it became a wonderful experience. That said, we lost our son on Valentine's Day in Parkland. As John said, we were, as parents, trying to give our family the safest place to live. We were trying to give Joaquin everything he deserved. I think we made the right choice by moving to America. I don't regret that. I think now we have a problem here that needs to be solved here. So now this is our country. So anybody that thinks that I'm not allowed to fight this, well, got news for you. I'm already fighting this. And we know our son so well in every single aspect of his life. 17 years, it's not enough. But as I told some people, if I had the chance to have a conversation with God 18 years ago, and let's say that God will offer me, hey Manny, here's this kid. It's gonna be beautiful. He's gonna love baseball. He's gonna be your best friend. But he can only be with you for 17 years. I would take that offer. I would say, yes, I want Joaquin to be part of my life, at least for 17 years. Now that is my reality. And when it comes to reality, which is what is bringing us here, this time, this speech that I'm giving today is not only demanding for solutions, it's offering a solution. And that is exactly what it makes it different from the others. Some people ask me, so what do you want us to do? Okay, so here it is. This is what I want you to do. Because it shows that it's been working here. So this message that we're sending from Boston, from Massachusetts, we're sending it to the people in Florida. And I say this just in case somebody's not getting the message. And I'm not talking about you guys, I'm talking about people behind those cameras. We like to send our messages in a very graphic way. As you can see my t-shirt. We don't want to make mistakes when we talk. We don't want people to think something that we didn't say. We mean what we say, and it's too late for us to help our son Joaquin, but it's still early for other parents to save their sons and daughters. This is a common issue, people. And here is a solution. Patricia and I are here 5 days, correct me if I'm wrong, before voting for the first time in this country. And we want to make sure that we choose the right people. I'm not going to give any names, but I'm just going to give a little advice. Anyone that is being supported by the gun lobby or the NRA, it is not qualified to solve the problem. He cannot solve the problem. Actually, he or she is part of the problem. The good news is that we vote for them. They don't vote for us. We are here. Life made Patricia and me be here for a reason. No one is going to vote us out. We are still Joaquin's parents. And we're showing it today. One day, Joaquin had a great conversation, a deep conversation with me, in which he asked me, Dad, how do you want to be remembered? That got me by surprise, by the way. He said, well, I don't know. I want to be remembered as a good father, and as an artist maybe, I don't know. What about you? How do you want to be remembered? Joaquin said, I want to be remembered as a great person. I want to be big. I want everybody to know, like, kind of a John Lennon thing. That's big. Yeah. That's 20 feet by 90. Right? So, believe it or not, I am proud of my son. You know those bumper stickers that go, proud father of a soccer player from blah, blah, blah? We are proud fathers of an activist that lost his life. And he's right back sending a big statement and a big message to the nation. We can change this if we follow Joaquin's directions on that billboard. And we can change it soon. This is not a long-term plan. This is happening next week. So go for it, please. Thank you.
Well, Manuel says what we have to accomplish. He spoke in the name of all of us, including Andrea, that is not here, our daughter. And I just want to thank you, every one of you, to be here, supporting Joaquin, supporting our cause, supporting these kids that are being with us in this journey. They are fighting like crazy. They are outspoken there. They are giving messages. We have to support them because this is the future. So thank you in the name of Joaquin, that is right there looking at us. He took the rain away, as you can tell, because we were supposed to be having 70% of rain, and now it's not. We are able to be here all together, listening to us, giving you a message. Please spread the message to all of you guys, to all your people, to your neighbors, to your friends, everybody. We have to make a change, and we cannot do that alone. Support the kids, support you, support your families, and we're gonna see the difference. I'm gonna feel very proud that we're gonna see that next week. I'm sure, I'm positive about that, but we have to work in that all together. Thank you.
So next up is our police commissioner, Willie Gross, whose job would be made a lot easier if every state had the same gun laws as Massachusetts, and that our leadership has made happen. But he is dealing with the repercussions of unrestricted access to guns in Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, and 32 other states. So thank you, Willie, for your service, and you're up, buddy.
All right. Good morning, everyone. This is all right, I love the politeness there. This is a serious issue. Just look around. Who's present today? John, thank you so much. Strong advocate for justice. Folks, quite frankly, too many people are dying at the hands of senseless gun violence. Again, look around you. This is a serious issue. We have Senator Markey, Congressman Kennedy, Attorney General Mara Healey, amongst our other state and local elected officials, but here as well are the future of our country, right here, saying enough is enough. To the Oliver family, God bless you. Imagine losing a child at the age of 17. That's just unacceptable. Again, we're talking about the future. Here in Massachusetts, we're happy to have the strong partnership that you see here behind us, working in solidarity. Mayor Walsh, with his elected brothers and sisters, work hard each and every day with them. Here's what we have in Massachusetts. Anyone wishing to obtain a license to carry, we have a very strong background check on all licenses. In the city of Boston, a ban on military-style assault weapons and high-capacity magazines, a ban on bumper stocks, and if you're going to legally transfer your firearm, it's mandatory that you report doing that here in Massachusetts. The problem, folks, is this. It's not done in every state. There are no strong unilateral gun laws. 20% of firearms that reach this state illegally, 20% 20% come from our neighbors to the north, 25% through I-95 coming from the south. Why can't we all be on the same page, especially when we know that loss of life transcends any borders, and it's in each and every state. The tragedies in Florida, the tragedies in Pittsburgh. Enough is enough. We're a strong nation. And like you said, sir, I can't say what he said. Let's just vote. The laws are for the people, but the people make the laws. When are we going to say enough is enough and end this senseless gun violence that are taking the lives of our children, our future? So I'd like to thank you again for even attending, because when you are here listening to us, you become our best ambassadors. So on behalf of Mayor Walsh, the men and women of the Boston Police Department, and I know I can speak for my first responder family, we say thank you for being here, and thank you in advance for sending the message, stop gun violence. Let's just say no to that. Thank you.
Senator Markey, the senior senator from Massachusetts, responsible for banning or legislation banning foreign-made assault weapons in the 90s, has been tirelessly working in Congress to replicate our Massachusetts gun laws, and he will make that happen. And it is a huge honor to introduce our friend Ed Markey.
Thank you, John, so much. Thank you for everything which you have done in being the leader on this issue in the state of Massachusetts and across the country. Thank you to Manny and to Patricia. Thank you for leading on this issue. Thank you for Joaquin. Thank you for being an inspiration to each and every one of us to work harder, to try harder. You don't know what it means to us that you are here. Thank you to Joe Kennedy, gun safety champion par excellence, to Maura Healey, suing the gun lobby as a national leader, to our host speaker, Bobby DeLeo, to Marjorie Decker, leading up in the State House. We thank you for that. Mary Lou Sutters, our health secretary here, and to all of the local student activists who are here. On March 24th, I marched for 3 hours from Roxbury to Boston Common with 50,000 grammar school, high school, and college kids from Massachusetts. They were the leaders. I saw one girl with a sign that said, the NRA says the only answer to a bad person with a gun is a good person with a gun. Sounds like someone who wants to sell 2 guns. That is the attitude which these young people are now bringing to this issue. It is the leadership which we need. It is going to be that partnership with the chiefs of every single city and town across our country, and the kids. The chiefs and the kids are ultimately going to be the partnership which puts an end to this. So we thank you all for all of your passionate work here in the city of Boston, to Superintendent Gross and to the mayor. They are absolutely cutting-edge leaders on this issue. Massachusetts' success in gun reform proves that sound policies can quiet the gunfire that shatters families and haunts our neighborhoods. But we all saw last week what the terrible combination of a high-powered gun and unchecked hatred can do when mixed together. Hate has no place in a house of worship, and neither does an AR-15 semi-automatic weapon. While Massachusetts has put strict gun laws on the books, many states do not have those kinds of laws. 2/3 of all gun crime in the Commonwealth is committed by guns originating from out of state, primarily from states with no criminal background checks requirements as a precondition to purchasing a gun. Our communities will continue to live in a state of violence as long as out of state guns flood into Massachusetts. And this billboard, if I had attended high school in Massachusetts instead of Parkland, Florida, I would likely be alive today. That is true. We have the strongest gun safety laws in the United States of America. That billboard points to the devastating consequence of not having strong gun laws. More than 33,000 people in America die as a result of gun violence every single year. Tomorrow, 96 people will die because of gun violence. 672 more next week. That's nearly 40 Parkland massacres every single week in the United States of America. Enough is enough. It is time to pass federal legislation that will ensure that all states have the same strong gun laws as Massachusetts. And that's why I worked with John Rosenthal to put together the MASS Act, the Massachusetts Act, which takes all of Massachusetts laws, and I've introduced it as a bill in the United States Senate. And the bill creates financial incentives for states to adopt Massachusetts laws. That is the most effective way to ensure that firearms licensing will in fact get much tougher. In Massachusetts, if you want to purchase a gun, you have to go in and see the police chief in 351 cities and towns. They are the ones who decide who should have a gun in the state of Massachusetts. Parkland very likely would have never occurred if that young man had to walk in and talk to a police chief before he was able to purchase a gun. Those are the laws we need all across our country. A license in Massachusetts is only given with the police chief seal of approval. That should be the model in every state in the United States. We have the lowest gun death rate in the country because we have enacted the strongest gun laws in the nation. Since 1994, our gun deaths have been reduced by 40%. In Massachusetts, we have found ways to make progress despite the NRA. These are the kinds of common sense reforms that we need nationwide. This new billboard is a wrenching testament to the price we pay for politicians who are too afraid to stand up to the hardline gun proponents at the head of the NRA, and now we need to demand change. NRA used to stand for National Rifle Association. Now it really stands for No Rules Allowed. Well, all of us stand here today for a message to the NRA. We're going to make NRA stand for not relevant anymore in American politics. And it begins on Tuesday at the ballot boxes all across this country. These Republicans are afraid of the NRA. They should have been afraid of the voters, because they're going to pay a huge price on Tuesday for their position. The people of Massachusetts know that we as a nation need better gun laws. We need an assault weapons banned nationally. We need a ban on bump stocks nationally. We need to close the gun show loophole. We need us to study gun violence like the public health crisis, which it is. The time for action is now, not after another tragedy like Parkland. Next Tuesday is a day of reckoning across this country on the NRA in its role in American politics. It's going to be led out of Massachusetts. We thank all of you for being here today, but we especially thank you, Manny and Patricia, for everything that you're doing in order to give a voice to the need for these laws to pass. Thank you all so much for being here.
Speaking of Congress, next up is a guy that I've known since he was single digit. And he was way shorter than me. And we spent a lot of time together over the years. And just as the March for Our Lives students are the future of America, so is Congressman Joseph Kennedy, who is one of the brightest, most exciting young elected officials in America. And he's from our very own state of Massachusetts.
John and the folks at Stop Handgun Violence, my partners in government, the Attorney General and Speaker, Stecker, Senator Cream, Senator Markey, Police Commissioner Gross, the students, young Americans that are with us here today, and of course, Manny and Patricia. Folks, I don't know how to imagine what would happen if the unimaginable occurred. I don't know how to find the words if the unspeakable happens. Yet somehow, Manny and Patricia have found the strength and continue to show the strength to push our country forward. A country that they sought to bring up their kids. Safety and prosperity. And we had breakfast several months ago. Manny told me that just because Joaquin is gone, he does not stop being his father. And so it is that Joaquin lives on today. Through the image in the billboard behind us, through these remarkable young men and women to my right, to the millions that have been inspired by the strength of the Oliver family to ensure that Joaquin's life is celebrated, that the principles by which he lived remain in the organization they founded, Change the Ref. And the stories and those moments that every family in this country should be able to enjoy. And because of their work, millions will. I'm grateful and honored to be here today. And I know that it might not be tomorrow, and it might not be next Tuesday, or the Tuesday after that. But the day will come when we will win. Because no child, no family should have to worry that they might go to school and not come home at night. This is a fight that we will win, thanks to Joaquin, the Oliver family, and the extraordinary people that they have inspired. Thank you.
just about 6 years ago, when an AR-15 and the .223 round was used at Sandy Hook to kill 26 and 7-year-old first graders and 6 teachers. And I started meeting parents of kids who died there, including Mark Barden and Nicole Hockley and others who had to identify their children by their clothing because they received 3 to 11 rounds with a .223 designed to maximize soft tissue damage. And that is now the weapon of choice by mass shooters. And it today will mark 303 mass shootings in 2018 in this country. But I will also never forget getting a call from Speaker DeLeo's office in Seth and saying the Speaker wants to meet. And by the time I got to the Speaker's office, you know, a father, a grandfather, and the Speaker of the House, he rattled off the number of dead kids from our billboard since Sandy Hook, and I realized he is serious. And since then, we've become as close as I've ever been to a guy like Bob DeLeo, Speaker of the House in Massachusetts, and he championed the gun bill in 2014 and the gun bill in 2018. And this leadership is exemplary of exactly what's needed in every state house across America. And Cindy Cream in the Senate, and David Linsky and Marjorie Decker in the House have championed our gun laws that have made us safe. And it is an honor to introduce my friend Bob DeLeo.
Thank you so much, John, for that kind introduction. And John is right. We probably started each morning talking to each other in terms of what we could do here in Massachusetts. Spoke during the day, ended every night in terms of what progress that we were making and where we had to go on further. It is such an honor for me to be here and to join the likes of all of the anti-gun violence advocates like Senator Markey, Congressman Kennedy, Secretary Sutters, obviously our great Attorney General Maura Healey, Commissioner Gross, who was here earlier, and also the support of people in the House like Marjorie Decker, and the Senate as well, like Senator Cream, and to all of the students, and most importantly all of you who are here to make sure that we get our message across. Good morning to all of you, and I'd have to first of all say that I wish I didn't have to be here today talking about this. This would not have been my place of choice, that we still had to talk about gun violence throughout our country. Especially this week, when gun violence once again has shaken our nation with the loss of 11 more innocent lives. And those were just the lives that were well publicized in the local media. There were, as John had stated, many, many others as well. These unspeakable tragedies for families like the Olivers should give us great pause. I want to express my gratitude to Manuel and Patricia. They have put aside their grief and become fearless advocates for this issue. And for that I sincerely thank them. I honor their courage. I honor their strength. I honor the memory of their son Joaquin and all the students at the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, and all of the victims, the friends, and the families. Some of these students I had the opportunity to meet in my office at the State House when we passed one of our latest gun laws. And I can tell you what impressive young people they are. And I felt at that time that because of their voice adding on to all of the other voices, that we were going to be able to do something and address this scourge of guns in our country. And in their names, we must continue to fight for gun safety. John Rosenthal understands that. With the help of advocates like John, we have come a long way relative to gun safety in Massachusetts. John, I can't thank you enough. I can't thank you enough for your leadership and your partnership. And I can't thank you enough for our personal friendship that has developed over the years. On behalf of the Massachusetts House of Representatives, I'm here today to say that gun safety will continue to be a priority for us. When we began our efforts to strengthen the Commonwealth's gun laws, our goal was not only to be the safest in the nation, but to be amongst the safest in the world. We passed laws in 2014, 2017, and 2018 that are not only strong, but they are effective. According to the National Centers for Disease Control, Massachusetts has the lowest rate of gun deaths in the nation. This is no accident. Other states look to our policies as a national model. We hope and pray that more states will join us. We've closed gun sales loopholes, helped schools adopt safe practices, and we were the first in the nation to ban bump stocks. This year, we took another step forward to prevent individuals who pose a risk of causing bodily injury to themselves or others from owning or possessing a firearm. Thank you, Representative Decker. We built in protective measures that increase coordination with law enforcement and access to crisis intervention, mental health, substance abuse, and counseling service. Looking forward, we're studying how to better trace weapons, how to close existing loopholes, and establishing the best practices for school safety. My hope is that this new billboard, while honoring the victims like Joaquin, will inspire others to join our cause. And I can tell you that I will continue to do that in my work as Speaker of the House here in Massachusetts. Thank you all very much for being here.
So when laws get passed, then they need to be enforced. And I don't know how often we hear, oh, we just have to enforce existing laws. Well, enforcing existing laws in this country in 33 states means no background checks, no restrictions on military-style weapons or large-capacity ammunition magazines. But in Massachusetts, it means something altogether different. And the next two speakers, as we all know, it's often, the guys that get all the credit and the women that do all the work. And these two women are beyond heroes in this state and in this country in enforcing the most effective gun laws in the nation. And the next up is Attorney General Maura Healey, who did more. I mean, we enacted a permanent ban on assault weapons in 1998, and then a permanent ban with Governor Romney in 2004, and it included a copycat provision that wasn't being enforced. And the most effective and the most courageous Attorney General in America is our Attorney General, who has taken on the industry, has taken on the gun lobby, and won in court over and over and over. And as a result of our laws being enforced, we are more likely to live. without gun violence. And Maura Healey's been an amazing partner, and we are so lucky to have her as our Attorney General.
Well, good morning, everyone. I want to thank John Rosenthal and Stop Handgun Violence and all of the coalition partners for the tremendous advocacy over so many years. I want to thank my colleagues in government who are working hard at the local, state, and national level to get us more to where we need to be. I want to thank the young people here who led March for Their Lives Boston and are an inspiration to all of us, because you truly are not just the future, you are the now. So thank you guys for everything that you're doing. And I just want to say to Patricia and to Manny, I am so sorry that you have to be here. Just think about it if you were a parent. It's so wrong that parents like Manny and Patricia have to go through what they are going through. And I think about how this nation has failed so many families, and will continue to fail families unless we take sensible, needed action now. You know, I had the privilege of, I think, meeting you both when I went down to DC for the march. And I remember it was an amazing day, an amazing time when so many people were showing up from all walks of life, so many different survivor communities united in that moment. And I remember I was standing in the tent, and I think up comes Manny and Patricia actually handed me this bracelet. And there are a lot of bracelets out there that day, but this one I was struck by, Change the Ref, right? And you know, as some of you know, I like basketball. Turns out Joaquin loved basketball, and he had a conversation with his dad I can relate to, about being frustrated with the calls being made in the league. And you know, he and Dad decided you just got to change the ref. And so the Olivers came up with this, change the ref. That's what this is about. That's what Tuesday is about. That's why voting matters like never before. It's about changing the refs, and it's about the players showing up. And the players are showing up. They're showing up all across this country, by the way, Democrat and Republican. Fact of the matter is the vast majority of Americans on both sides, right, support common sense reforms. But for too long, we've just been stifled and stymied by the gun lobby. That is changing. I had a chance then after DC to speak by phone. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to be in Springfield when that billboard that Manny created was unveiled. But I had a lot of folks from the office there, and I remember a few things. One, that billboard was destroyed. I want you to remember that, because we can be proud in Massachusetts. There are a lot of things to be proud of in Massachusetts, but we have got a hell of a lot of work to do. And I say that if you think about Alicia Restrepo last week, and Raekwon Brown last week, and all of the many people who will continue to die in cities and states needlessly at the hand of a gun all across our state. I see the acts, I see the anger, I see the vitriol. Some of it's been directed my way. That's okay. You know, we got to recognize the forces among us too, which is all the more important that people are voting in every single election. But that was a beautiful, beautiful gesture, the moving billboard. I next had the opportunity to have a conversation when you were coming up then to march, in the 50-mile march. And one thing that I was so struck by was that Manuel wore Joaquin's sneakers. Think about that. Think about the symbolism of this father wearing his dead son's sneakers and carrying on. Marching is powerful. Marching is symbolic, right? Marching is movement, and it's about action. And I just so admire the way that the Olivers have sought to deal with an unimaginable tragedy. Strong gun laws save lives. We must enforce them. And we also must make sure that there are strong gun laws in other states, because as has been noted, so much destruction and devastation is wrought here at the hand of a gun that's coming in from somewhere else. So we have got work to do, and I'm committed to working with all of you in doing that work. But as angry as I am at the senseless, needless violence, the pain of parents like Manny and Patricia, I am also incredibly hopeful, because there is a new form of action and engagement. It is about changing the ref. There will be accountability. And I think another example of why I am so hopeful is not just what's reflected in this startling and thought-provoking, as it's intended to be, billboard, but in the 3D image of Joaquin that you created and displayed in Times Square. And make sure you go online and Google it, because it is powerful, isn't it? It shows Joaquin, right? Standing tall and strong, with a look of fearless determination on his face. Fearless activism is what is required of all of us in this time, and I love that you sought to embody your son and the movement and the energy and the action in that form. I also love that you have Joaquin holding that bouquet of flowers that he held on Valentine's Day in Parkland, Florida, for his girlfriend. Because ultimately, this is about recognizing the dignity and worth of every single human being, the need for empathy and understanding and love for one another. With that, I thank you. I look forward to doing the work together with you. Let's do everything we can to support these young people, the Oliver family, and Joaquin, and get out and do the right thing Tuesday and every election after. Thank you.
Last but certainly not least, this woman is only responsible for all of our public health and the public health of everyone in Massachusetts, from air and water to gun violence prevention, opioid addiction, and representing Governor Baker, who we will be meeting with after this, is Secretary Sutters, who is one of the most passionate public health officials in America, works in the most amazing personal and bipartisan ways, and has been a huge partner and supporter of all of our work around gun violence prevention. Mary Lou Sutters.
All right, after that extraordinary group of speakers, frankly, all I want to really say is ditto. But as the Attorney General said, and the Speaker said, and so many people have said, well, it's extraordinarily a privilege to stand here today. It is also extraordinarily tragic that we have to stand here today. I'm here on behalf of Governor Baker, who, as many people know, likes to get A on all subjects. He is very pleased to get a D from the NRA and has never taken any money from the gun lobby. He stands with our legislature on having the best gun safety laws we could ever have in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and to have them be the standard bearer for the rest of our country. After Sandy Hook, Speaker DeLeo reached out to me and asked me if I would meet with a small group of men, it was me and the boys, to advise him on what what turned out to be the 2014 legislation would look like. Little did I realize at that time that we were establishing for the country, when I thought we were just doing this for Massachusetts, a state that has long believed in sensible gun safety laws, that we were setting a new bar, not just for Massachusetts, but for the rest of the country. It is sad that the rest of the country doesn't take Massachusetts up on its offer to have the strongest gun laws for everyone. To Manny and Patricia, to take grief into grace and action, to say we must take back this conversation from the NRA that we hold this conversation about safety in our schools, safeties in our houses of worship, safety on our streets is the conversation that we need to have, not just in Massachusetts, but across the country. So for you to share your grace and courage with all of us, and so easy it is, I think, for people to become numb from violence. That extraordinary, provocative, thought-provoking billboard is to remind us that behind every number is a person with love, with history, who just wanted to go to school and come home to his parents. So for that, I know the governor is so much forward-looking to meeting with you today in a private conversation with you. But we stand here in this administration to work with all communities, with our legislators, and with all families to ensure that Massachusetts always has the strongest gun safety laws, because our people, our communities, our families deserve nothing less. Thank you.
So here's our challenge. Here's Joaquin's challenge. This is Joaquin's billboard. And Joaquin is looking down at us saying, what are you going to do to help prevent more tragedies like he experienced? And while we live in the safest state in the nation thanks to these leaders, today and every day another 100 people will die. Today and every day there'll be a mass shooting of 4 or more people. Today and every day 250 will be wounded. Every month and a half, the equivalent of a 9/11 attack will happen in America from largely preventable gun violence. Every day in America, our Congress has said, law enforcement, you carry 13 to 17 rounds in your weapons. But criminals and terrorists have 100-round magazines. They'll say to hunters who have to get a license to hunt that you're limited to 5 rounds for deer and you're limited to 3 rounds for duck to protect the duck and deer population. But Congress will say to the criminals and the terrorists in America, unlimited access to large capacity ammunition magazines with no limit to hunt people. And until we hold our Congress accountable, shame on us. And we have created an environment where these kids are afraid to go to school for very good reason. It's on us. These kids can't even vote, and all they've been doing since Parkland is registering people to vote. They deserve far more than the world that we have allowed by not holding our Congress accountable and frankly not saying thank you enough to our leaders in this state for making us the safest state in the nation, making us, like our billboard said, more likely to live here because we have the safest gun laws in the nation. It is on us, and until we take action and make voting on guns and are as passionate on gun violence prevention legislation as the NRA and gun rights are on stopping legislation, we reap what we sow, and there are deadly consequences at the range of 37 to 45,000 of us a year. And this billboard has become a national icon that presidents and vice presidents and House speakers and attorney generals and legislators all over the country have seen and talk about, and has driven change. But it's time for us to make gun violence prevention a voting issue next week and in every election until we have the safest gun laws in the nation. We are the only country in the world that accepts this. And it's our fault for not participating in our democracy enough. So Manny and Patricia,
We love you.
we love you.
You know that.
And thank you for Joaquin.